Welcome back to episode 3 of the 80's VHS Drum Set, okay? In the last episode, we took all the drum wrap off the 8-inch, the 10-inch, the 12-inch, the 14-inch, the 15, the 16, and the big monstrous 24-inch bass drum, which was not easy. In this episode, I'm going to be stripping all the glue residue, which is not fun, off all the shells. You can see all the let's just call it what it is. It's just glue boogers, right? They're very stiff residue. And how I'm going to be doing this is a little bit of a cocktail of WD-40 that will slightly loosen the dry glue boogers there. I'm going to then let that sit for about 5 minutes. I'm going to then basically foam brush citrus strip on there. What's nice about this is it doesn't really stink as much as some of the other glue strippers and such. I'm going to let that soak. Then I'm going to hit it up with one last layer and goo off? Yes, the Goo Gone glue stripper, okay? I've tried it different ways. I've done them all individually with those things. For some reason, that layer of WD-40, that layer of the citrus strip, and then the one layer of Goo Gone, and just let it sit for, not long, because I don't want the shells to get too moist with all that heavy liquid and goo. It's just enough to get that glue loose. Then I'm just going to take that painstaking level of taking a putty knife, a very sharp one, and scraping it and trying to get to that layer of the outer layer of wood of the shells, okay? Then I just take, I let it dry a little bit out, and then I just take 400 grit sandpaper and just lightly go over the shell, and then I'm going to take 100 grit. Actually, it's 100 grit, then 400 grit of sandpaper, and that should bring it down to its original shell. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to get 98% of it done so that we can finally take all the covers of the VHS tapes. We've got Money Pit, Shelley Long, and Tom Hanks, the greatest home renovation movie ever. Anybody who's owned a house and a fixer-upper, it's a necessary movie, okay? We've got European Vacation, the Chevy Chase. Now, I have all 3 series, the more important ones. I have the original Vacation where they go to Wallywood, the European Vacation, and the classic now for Christmas, the Christmas Vacation. And what else do I have? I have the Muppet movie. The best gag out of this is Fozzie and Kermit are running down the road in their Studebaker, or driving down the road in their Studebaker, and Fozzie goes, "Hey, there's a fork in the road," and the next shot is literally a giant fork in the road. Come on, it's the greatest bit ever, okay? Although that movie terrified me at the end because an animal blows up to like this King Kong kind of like size. As a kid, that scared the you-know-what out of me. But those are just 3 of the many movies I'm going to be putting onto the shells. And we'll even in this episode talk about the inspiration of why I figured out to do this finally, okay? So with that being said, let the glue stripping begin. let's take a moment and discuss what influenced me to do this, other than just the idea that, hey, I liked movies as a kid and I loved drums to this day and I still like movies. And how can I do this as a drum set as a tribute, right? Now, let's go back to 10 years ago, 11 years ago when I said, oh, I'd love to be able to do this idea. And then I just shelved it. I was just like too busy. I have taught drums for 25 years. I'm very busy. I still am continuously very busy to just fix up drum sets and renovate them. But once every 3 years, I end up doing one. So in 2018-19, DW did a special drum for Josh Freese, who's now with the Foo Fighters, but at the time he was Sting's drummer, and Sting does not hire bad drummers at all. So Josh Freese has been around since my teens. Like, I remember him drumming for Dweezil Zappa and in the LA punk scene, and who hasn't he drummed with? He was also the Perfect Circle drummer. The guy's got a big credential, and if you ever watch him on Instagram, he loves to prank his wife. It's very funny. He's got a good sense of humor, but he always plays the most beautiful DW kits. Okay, so back to like 2018-19, more and more photos came out and videos of him playing the plane ticket drum set. And it's the coolest idea. He took his own old plane tickets from tours and traveling, and DW, from what I understand, they Mod Podged it to the shells and then polyurethaned it. Basically put a clear coat on it, okay? So here's the photo. This is the best up-close photo I could find on the internet. But look at that. You could see the U.S. Airways plane tickets and how it's kind of like subway tiled onto it in a cool fashion. And it always gave the little information of where he was traveling to. The only problem with this, it looks awesome, but whatever polyurethane or polyacrylic they used, it kind of yellowed, all right? But still, it was like when I saw this, it kicked back the idea of, oh, can I just take those old VHS tape covers and make that the drum wrap, okay? So this was like the Kickstarter says, okay, I'm going to start getting all these VHSs in order, and then soon I will do this project, all right? So his kit by DW kind of inspired me to finally do the VHS cover kit. Now I'm going to be doing it a little different. I'm going to be using laminate, as I discussed in the first video, a clear laminate, instead of any kind of gloss or lacquer, because I just don't want it to yellow. And I believe from all my tests of the laminate, it won't yellow and it will retain all the colors off the VHSs. So big shout out to DW for doing this. I would love for them to kind of show me exactly how they did this. And then also shout out to Josh Freese, who's now with the Foo Fighters. I would love to see better close-up photos of this kit because it's just a cool idea. And it was all the cool videos that I saw of him on tour with Sting. And I think Shaggy opened up. I mean, it was just overall just a cool drum set. So big shout out to DW and Josh Freese for inspiring what is now going to be the VHS drum set kit. in every episode, I'm kind of showing you some of the VHSs that I did not have originally in my childhood collection that I wanted to include in the VHS 80s kit. Okay, so let's discuss a couple of those movies, all right? And I might flash to the above shot here, okay? First things first, how could I not include Arthur starring Dudley Moore? I mean, it's one of the funniest movies. Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli, John Gielgud. If you've never seen that, that is so funny, okay? So I included Arthur. I just acquired that. Now here's an obscure one, but I remember it as a kid. It was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow starring Jeff Goldblum, okay? I need to find this in, because I don't have a VHS player, oddly enough, but I'd love to find the digital format of this or somewhere where it's streaming. I probably could find it on YouTube. But yeah, that was actually a really good, as I remember, a really good movie. So Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and let's face it, no offense to the Tim Burton, Johnny Depp one, but Jeff Goldblum as Ichabod Crane, so much more better of a casting decision. No offense, Johnny Depp, okay? Now, here's three that I had a hard time finding, and I couldn't find them in their original casings. Now, this one I did. So it's 3 John Cusack movies, all right? One Crazy Summer, starring John Cusack, Demi Moore, Bobcat Goldthwait, okay? That is one of the 3 John Cusack movies I did not have. Now, the other 2 I have not unwrapped yet, so a little unwrapping, unboxing. Better Off Dead. Unfortunately, it's the revised version. It's not the best copy. You can see a lot of creasing and rub off, but I don't mind the fact that they have a little age to them. You know, I don't need them to look pristine. But even if they have that reissue selection or golden series, whatever they would like to call it, there's going to be, unfortunately, some that I need to cut off because of the runoff of the size of the drum. So Better Off Dead, the greatest bit ever is the I need my $2 or I want my $2, okay? If you've never seen that, that is very funny. The third John Cusack movie that I did not have, and unfortunately it is got that reissue, is Say Anything. The coming of age of basically a teenager with no hopes or dreams per se. He's just making his way through high school, and he falls in love with the smart girl who does well and has been pushed, who has no particular social life, but like has all the opportunities to go off to college. Spoiler alert. And basically them falling in love. The slacker versus the overachiever. So yes, Say Anything, Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer. Okay, so those are 3 John Cusack movies I needed to include. Unfortunately, I'm just sticking to the 80s John Cusack. I would love to put High Fidelity in there, but I'm kind of staying away from most of the 90s or 2000 movies, okay? 2000 era movies, just to kind of like go early VHS, okay? There's going to be a few 70s. There's another movie where John Cusack's in it that I'm including, which is 16 Candles, and he plays one of the friends of the nerd with Anthony Michael Hall. So yes, technically 4 John Cusack movies in the 80s VHS, okay? So there's just 5 new ones that I just acquired that I'm including with the VHS 80s kit. Like I said, I'm going to rename the thing like 300 times, but nonetheless, very cool. that wraps up episode 3 of the 80s VHS drum set, where I'm taking again all these classic VH covers. Willow, starring Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer, and I believe his ex-wife, I can't remember her name, to Billy Crystal classics, When Harry Met Sally, as well as Running Scared, Gregory Hines, and Billy Crystal, and Jimmy Smits. Great movie. And let's take a look-see. Oops, as I drop the VHS. Okay. How these came out. All right. So this was after the WD-40, as well as the citrus paint stripper, as well as actual Goo Gone, and me scraping over and over and over again. You can see I'm down now to the bare shells. Let's take a look at that bass drum real quick. Oh, yes, that was a grunt. You can see how clean that looks now. Yeah. So next week, I'm going to be filling in all these unnecessary mounting holes and air vents. Where's the air vent on this puppy? Apparently, I don't know where it is. All these unnecessary rivet holes for where they had the protective bottom, which I took off in episode 2, last week's video. And yes, I got to use wood filler and as well as Bondo for some of the bigger holes in there, as well as discuss more of the VHS that I'm going to be using, as well as starting to cut them off. So you're going to see that in episode 4. But this one took a lot longer than I thought. It did take about 2 weeks because I had to do the 8, the 10, the 12, the 14, the 15, the 16, and the big 22-inch bass. And it was, I would say, each drum on average was 2 to 3 hours. And I'm trying to do this between teaching. I teach on average 60 to 70 lessons a week. Some of those are hour lessons, half-hour lessons on the majority. So I keep a pretty full schedule for in-person lessons, as well as I would say 2/3 of my students are abroad and all over the U.S. and Canada, Switzerland, all over the place. So I do have a few availability if you're interested in lessons. But I'm trying to squeeze this in between life, teaching, my musical projects, and such, okay? So this one just took about 2 weeks to do, just because it was a lot of scraping. And yes, my arms are sore, okay? Cry me a river. So I will see you in episode 4. Enjoy.